Hi, this is Aera, and you are listening to Talk to the Artist. Today's guest is my good friend Sandrino, one half of Frankey Sandrino and the head behind the Sum Over Histories label. The interview today comes in two parts. The first part was recorded early March, just before the first corona wave hit and changed everything. The second part was recorded a few days ago via Zoom to catch up and reflect on how things have changed in the meantime. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, I need to see where we start. And I think I'm going to start with space. Space. Because from looking at your musical output over the years, I can see or read by the titles that it seems to be a very big inspiration for you and something that you
it's a pattern. I was always obsessed with a physics topic, especially space, astrophysics, and the hidden miracles out there is kind of fascinating. All kind of events, like for example black holes or supernovae or something like this, every time you read about it or you imagine it or you watch a documentary about it, I don't know, it makes me feel small but big at the same time, and it's wonderful just for my soul to imagine all these things going on out there. And music for me in general is it's something where you let go, and especially me when I go to listen to music and I want to be on the dance floor is really to close my eyes and to travel somewhere else. And I hope people do that also when listening to my or our music.
For me, it's kind of similar whenever I think about the space and the vastness of it, how big it is, and how small and maybe also unimportant our problems or the daily struggles that we have can seem. Like sometimes it helps me to really put things into perspective, to look at the big picture, and the thought that you might look up at a star and it's not even there anymore. It gets me goosebumps.
Or maybe a dot is not even a star, but a whole galaxy. So this could also be. And this is something. Obviously, we can never, or from the current point of view, you could never reach those stars. But when you close your eyes and you listen to the music, that you actually can reach the stars and you can travel to see a supernovae going on, or along the event horizon of a black hole, or jumping to a wormhole and discovering a completely new dimension or whatever. So this is just a nice imagination, and I take a lot of inspiration out of it. Maybe for some people it's already boring, the topic, I don't know, because it's kind of a pattern since Frankie and me started with it. But yeah, you know how it is with obsessions, you know, you keep them going.
And in the end, if it inspires you, I think that's the main thing. And for the theme that goes to the music and the titles and so on, it's just titles.
At the end, yes.
Sometimes you obsess about these little details so much, and in the end, who knows, maybe people who are listening to this now go back to your track titles and are like, oh, I've never noticed. Who knows?
Nice. That would be nice actually, to go back and then to change your imagination, or to have another kind of view to the music or the track. Yeah, nice.
Also, I think it's really interesting when you said that you're interested in physics and in the big, but also in the small, which would bring us to the name of your label, Sum Over Histories, which first when I heard it, I thought sounded really poetic, and I had some kind of emotional connection to it. And then when I tried to find out what it meant, and then I found out that it has some physical implications in quantum physics, also the name of the compilations, Path Integral. So I thought it was really interesting, maybe if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Actually Sum Over Histories is basically a very simple concept. The light, or a light particle, to travel from point A to point B will not take the fastest way or the direct, obvious way, but it will take every possible way. So, Sum Over Histories. This is where this theory is coming from.
I love the idea how you said that a light particle doesn't take the direct, obvious way, but takes every possible way. And I think you only find out afterwards, which is the way that it actually took. If you look at it,
exactly.
That's how the creative process is a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. and this is what I mean. You start, you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So sometimes, to be honest, till now, it have been only one time. It was with Save, actually, when I knew before how the track should sound like at the end. Yeah, and this was the first and the last time a track was made, which the idea was before the track there. So normally it's like you go in the studio and you don't know where it goes. And it forms within trying or jamming, and then at the end you realize the way and you look in the retrospective and you connect the dots, like in real life, you know? If you don't know where you are in 5 years or in 10 years, but at the end, if you look backwards, everything makes sense and everything is connected to each other. And the big picture is there, you can watch it, you can look at it.
Which makes me curious about the way you and Frankey work together. Do you have a certain workflow? Do you have things that you do, maybe certain routines or habits or whatever? Maybe you always go to the same place?
It's the habit is that I need a proper breakfast in the morning. Usually I'm the foodie, but Frank even more, he really needs breakfast in the morning, otherwise you can forget about him the whole day. So it's either we stay at Frankey's place, because Frank is living in Essen, so I always travel to Essen. We always sit together in the studio, so I think there is only one track we did, like sending the project back and forth, but normally I go to Essen, spend the time or sleeping at Frankey's place. In the morning, we wake up, we have a breakfast either at Frankey's place or we go to, there's a cafe named Zweibar, it's close to the studio. Always the same table, always the same food, always the same coffee, sitting there discussing and then having an easy busy breakfast and then going to the studio. And in the studio, Frankey is the absolute engineer nerd with absolutely deep knowledge about the technical side, and he plays also a lot of instruments. He's a really teached musician, actually. And I'm actually more for sound design and choosing the right sounds for the track. So this symbiosis makes it complete. And because, to be honest, I could never ever spend so much time as maybe you or Frankey working hours and hours on a kick. It's just not satisfying for me. I'm more into the creative process and sound design. I rather prefer to use this time to dig for new music. Because at the end of the day, if you ask me, I see myself more as a DJ than a producer, to be honest. The music we do is actually the music I try to find out there, and maybe I don't find. Then we go in the studio and we try to make this music or to write this music, which is not working every time, you know. Sometimes you spend a week and only the last 2 hours were this magic you were hoping the whole week for, but it's very important also to have it like this, because these 2 hours then maybe you create or write something which is beyond your expectations.
Do you talk a lot when you work, or are you working so symbiotically that you don't really have to speak about those things a lot?
It's very fun. It depends. Sometimes we talk a lot. Sometimes we even laugh a lot. Sometimes in between we are in the middle of a flow, and then out of a little thing, it reminds me to have some kind of video or whatever, and we need to watch it and to laugh about it, and we get back to the topic. But usually it works very good. We both listen to a lot of samples and sounds and decide together what to take. And then as soon as there is a key element or something which we both think, oh, that's amazing, then everything happens like very simultaneously and very fast and very organically, that the next part is coming, or the next and the next and the next. And sometimes you reach the point where it's way too much, so you need to reduce again. yeah, it's a very nice workflow, and I wouldn't miss it in the world, to be honest.
I can also imagine that it really helps to alleviate frustration when you work with someone else. Like for me, frustration is the opposite of creativity. So when I work alone in the studio, my main goal is to get into a flow, get into a state where I'm happy, where I'm satisfied, and not have to think about technical things. And also, even though it might sound like it, I don't spend hours on a bass drum. I try to work as fast as possible so that I have kind of like this objective view of the music, almost as if I'm someone who hears it for the first time. I always try to have this kind of perspective, but also having a way to separate the different things that you maybe not like and have someone who's interested in that.
And this is the point. He likes it. He actually likes it.
I love that idea. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, he actually likes it. I leave the studio, for example, on Fridays. Yeah, we stop with a track with a version 7, for example. Yeah, on Saturday evening we play together, and I watch the CDJ. It's already then version 17 or 18 or 21. Because Frankey, this is what he likes. Sometimes I'm going and he's, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. And then the next day he tells me, I was all night awake and I was working on sound and everything. Because it's actually what he likes. And he fast loses himself into the technical side. Sometimes he said it by himself way too much, because at some point I don't hear the difference anymore. But Frankey does.
But that's also great that you're maybe the kind of person that can say then, it's good. Yeah, because I know people who are like that and they don't find an end because they don't have a person who's able to tell them. Yeah. So that shows.
But this is I'm very strict here, and even if something isn't perfect, but maybe this is exactly what the track is about, or what makes the track like it is, you know. So as we said at the beginning, we talk a lot, and maybe sometimes there are too many elements in a track, and then we take a step back and maybe we take something out and we go back to maybe an earlier version, because we realize after playing it for a few weeks that it was better as it was at the beginning, and it's overproduced maybe or whatever. So yeah, it's good like it is. I mean, the combination makes it, because Frankey and me, we represent different parts, but it's round at the end of the day. We're really different, but equally at the same time. So we discuss a lot. Sometimes we are completely opposite opinions. We have a tension, you feel a tension in between us, yeah? At the end, we get both to a common conclusion, which then is perfect, you know? So this is what I like.
I would love to hear one of those discussions.
Yes. It's non-stop, believe me, it's non-stop. Sometimes I feel like in a marriage, you know? But this year is 10 years that we work together.
Wow.
And we are really more hungry than ever. And yeah, I never ever felt like frustrated in the studio. You feel maybe a little bit, why do I don't get there or whatever. But this is a very important part, because you need to get through it, even if it takes sometimes 2 days, and 2 days we do, and then you think, what the hell are we doing? But this is very important, because the next thing you start or you do, because you relieve something, this tension or frustration, you build up those days, you release within a moment, and this is actually why we go in the studio, for this moment. So it's part of the creative process, and it's kind of energies. You have this, you're stuck into something, but you need to solve it, you need to go through it, even though if you will never release this track, but you need to finish it, you need to finish this project to have your peace, your mind peace, and then you go to the next one, and obviously the next one you want to make everything different than before, and you take a completely different approach, and then these are the moments when we do our best work, to be honest.
It's coming back to that idea that you think you go the straight way from A to B, but then you don't, you go to four different stops, but it was really important to have gone all the way to these different places along the way
to get to the point B.
To get to the point.
Yeah, exactly.
So you say you've been working together for 10 years already.
Yeah.
How did you meet, actually?
My first residency ever was in Bhutan Club in Wuppertal, which took place from 2003, I guess, till 2007. Frankie was a regular guest playing there. Me being a resident, we became friends, and we had also a lot of DJ colleagues in common. So at some point you meet, and Frankie was one of those guys who took it serious from the very first beginning. Along the way, you saw your colleagues, some became lawyers or whatever. It was just a hobby, obviously, but some of them took it very serious, me inclusive. So then it was like a natural filtration, or how you want to say. And then at some point we say, yeah, let's try something in the studio just for fun. It was never ever planned to have a project together or to have a duo, to plan it, to play out, to do a brand out of it, or whatever you want to call it. It was just, let's try something out. And here we are, still trying out.
I love how you actually mentioned that he also took it serious. When did you know that you wanted to make music? Like, this is the thing.
So basically, as far as I can remember, music was very important to me. It was not Kraftwerk or someone else who inspired me, but it was, it's funny, but it was Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal. And now a lot of people will laugh, but it was Kaoma Lambada. Okay, I was a 5 years or 6 years old kid in living in communism in Romania, and we watched TV, and there was we had 2 or 3 channels, 2 Romanian and 1 Serbian channel. And on the Serbian channel there were 2 video clips of music video clips. So these were the first music video clips I ever saw, and it was Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal and Kaoma Lambada. And I started to love music, and since then I love music. Then I came to Germany in the 90s, and really one of my first CDs in 91 or 92 as a 12-year-old guy was, it was called a compilation 6000 Ohm, and there were like, I don't know, 24 tracks with Carl Cox, Mongolian Rider, and tracks from Steve Mason. It was already very heavy music for a 12 years old. So I really liked electronic music, and it was for me clear, I love it. I love this music. And then I was a 13 years old guy, and I had a friend who had a cousin which was already 18 years old, and he took us to a rave. I was listening Cosmic Baby and Steve Mason, 13 years old, in a rave. They let me in the club. It was a funny story because I went there 13 years old, imagine a 13 years old wants to go into the club. So we were in a queue, and the bouncer, obviously, he came to us and laughed at us and said, out of the queue, out of the queue. So, okay, we went out of the queue. My friend and myself were looking sad. I don't know, it was in Bonn, and we were both living in Leverkusen, so which is a 30-40 kilometers ride, and we went there by train. And yeah, sitting there full of pity, at some point this bouncer came back to us and he said, go in immediately. I was like, what? Go in immediately. So yeah, we went in, and what I saw there underlined my vision, and I wanted to have this in my life, and I wanted to become a DJ, because I was, as a 13 years old guy, you need to think about it. I was, first of all, dancing almost all night, and the other hours I was on a stair watching the DJ, what he was doing and how he had the control of a full club and making the people dance, trip, and going crazy. And I knew this is what I want. So from that moment, I did everything possible to do it.
Was there a certain point where you felt like you made it?
Actually, I wasn't bad at school. I was really good in school. Yeah, so I could have easily go to university or study something. But I realized one thing: I wouldn't take it serious. I wouldn't take it serious. It would be just a waste of the money of my parents and a waste of my time because I wouldn't finish it. So I knew I want to do music. This was really an absolutely manifested idea in my head. So already very early I said I will do whatever job is necessary to pay my bills, but my free capacity of my brain, my heart will remain for the music. And so I did. I worked a lot, different kind of jobs. The last job I had was in furniture industry. I worked in a furniture store first in Berlin, but then I decided to do my own company and I distributed carpets and sofas to high-end furniture stores. And it was actually a very nice job and it was also fun. But of course, I did it for the money and kept on going music. And then I said to myself, if the music starts to provide at least half of what I'm earning or a little bit to really to have my basics covered, I will give everything up and I jump full on the music. And this was like, I think it was only 5 years ago when I said, okay, I want to jump on the full on train.
Speaking about trains,
yeah,
I'm really interested how different people deal with the stress or coping. For example, with the fact that sometimes you're on a plane for 8 hours and you go straight to the club.
Yeah.
Like you come from this moment where you're completely on your own, where you maybe you're bored, maybe you don't know how to spend your time. And then from one moment to the other is full on train again.
Yeah.
You have to, you function, you present something, you're an entertainer, you want to give the people something. So do you have certain tips, tricks, or ways of dealing with that? Or
it sounds very simple, but the easiest trick is not to think too much. I did the mistake. I put everything on a schedule. I thought too much about it. At some point, I was stressed. I was like, what the hell? My calendar is full, but I feel stressed about it. Because I was watching on the calendar and I didn't see all these wonderful places I was seeing, but I saw shitloads of dates I need to travel to, pressure and everything. I had a short period where it scared me, to be honest, but then I realized that thinking about it it doesn't make it any better. And the thing is, you let something stress yourself which didn't happen yet, is not real. So I just take it easy. I'm going to the plane and I'm reading a book. I'm absolutely easy, not thinking about it, not trying not to stress yourself. Like the last weekend or the weekend before, we played all night long in Watergate, then straight from the club to go to Dubai. In Dubai, straight in the hotel, having only a fast salad to the venue, playing, then back, then a few hours sleep, then going to Munich, playing Munich, and then back home. I don't know, it was, for me it was easy. I kind of enjoy it, you know? So sometimes also I'm enjoying the long travels because you're disconnected from the internet, you're disconnected from everything. It's just a moment you can really rest. You can watch a movie without checking your phone, without this, you can dedicate your time actually really to something, to rest yourself. And what is a lifesaver for me is noise-canceling headphones in the flight. I feel less stressed because obviously the engines and the loudness in the plane is really a very, very, very high stress factor, which I didn't realize only after I bought myself a noise-canceling headphone. The most important is really just take it easy. It's like this. Nothing can happen. You do your best anyway. Some nights are good, some nights are bad. I struggle more sometimes afterwards when a night really was that well, and maybe because of me, because I wasn't in the right mood, or I didn't understand the crowd, or I don't know. This makes me really feel bad a few days after. So this is the only thing I struggle is a big word, but makes me think a lot about it. But it's also important because then I analyze why do I feel like this, and sometimes is okay. You didn't spend enough time of digging music, so I felt insecure or bored, maybe not insecure, but maybe bored about my music, so I couldn't transport the feeling I wanted to transport because I didn't have something to excite myself also. But it's also important because then I dig deeper, even deeper, and try to find tracks which makes me excited to play them out. And then it can be only one track, and then the collection of the music collection makes again completely sense, and every other track is interesting again, you know? So, yeah.
Do you have certain ways how you look for music? Do you have any tips maybe, or how does music come to you?
Nowadays, it's not going to a record store, digging for music in a record store, and then you go home with 10 new records and that's it. It's a little bit more complicated, and you need to actually dedicate a lot of time to it. Music comes to me first. I know I have some friends which are obviously great producers, like you send me your music up front, which I kind of really appreciate and I like. And I have a few friends who does this. And then I have 2 or 3 other friends which I exchange music. Obviously not music who someone sent me and trusted me the music, but maybe music which is in the promo. So, hey, did you hear this promo? No, I missed it. So here, look what I discovered. So you have 2 or 3 people exchanging music. And then there is the real digging when you go through all these online stores or sometimes the vinyl stores also to check music and then to buy it actually digital. And there, the luck factor is one of the biggest because you need to resist. You need to resist and to listen and to dig and to stay focused and to listen, to go all through it. Yeah. Even then, you had like 500 tracks a day. You listen to music I can't stand at all. Yeah. But then, number 501 was worth it the last 5 hours. And yeah, promos is also very important because sometimes you find a track where you wouldn't expect it, and this is a thing of luck. You need to go through all of this. It's impossible, but you need to try it and to go through it. Actually, I listen almost everything, even though if I'm not answering, but at least to give it a little skip. And some music needs a little bit more time. You need to dedicate more time, but some music you can actually within some seconds you can sort out.
What are your thoughts on exclusivity and this whole, maybe we can call it track ID culture, which is on the one side, of course, a big part of the music, and so many people are interested and want to know what it is and want to find out about it. But sometimes it can also feel like it's just maybe the exclusivity is like a goal in itself.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you give it a lot of thought, actually?
I gave it a lot of thought, and at the end, exclusivity means for me, or is in music, equally limitation. Okay? So if something is exclusive, means is limited. Is limited to only a few people. So if it's limited, it's not good. Music is for everybody. The problem, or actually, there is no problem. It has down and up sides, everything. But what I don't like, for example, or let's start with what I like. If you have this track ID, there are a lot of groups who are really trying to ID every single track, you know. Maybe they dedicate more time to this than actually to the real music, what is behind. But at the same time, they keep the flag up for the new music, which is kind of nice. The downside is they listen to those shitty recorded videos in a club 1,000 times and define a track by this, and then when it's actually released, they don't give it the right attention. You get it in a proper quality then, and then, I overhear it. Where did you overhear it? If you watch a video of Dixon playing a track 100 times, who overplayed it and why are you overhearing it? You watched a video, man, from the club, recorded with a mobile phone, which sounds, in most cases, sounds absolutely shitty. So it doesn't represent any of this track. So then you're oversaturated, or you have it over yourself, and then when it's actually released, you don't dedicate actually the time this track or the attention this track or song actually deserves. You don't dedicate to it anymore. Or let's say maybe you dedicate it, but not every time. So this is a little bit of a pity. So I don't know, it's good or bad, you know.
It's a double-edged sword. Like, it can also give attention to something, but it's also probably a matter of timing for us artists, which we not often have a lot of control over, because there are release schedules, and especially if you press vinyl, if you do records, it takes time to produce them.
Look, at the end, there are also the up part of it, you know, a positive effect is not so good track. I don't say shit track, because it's obviously it's a perspective thing or perception thing, but a not so good track would never make it into thousands of videos, you know. So it's also kind of an indicator if something maybe is interesting or also good. And on the other side also, you don't forget that those ID pages maybe makes 1% out of the whole listeners out there, you know. So if you go into a club, you may have 2-3 people who are these track hunter ID guys. He plays this track, I hear it already. Dixon plays this and that, but these are only 2-3 guys, and the rest of the club, 500,000 people, have a great time, even if you play the track 1,000 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the thing is, can you personally still listen to a track? Do you really like it? And if you play it with your all honesty, then it's perfect.
Actually, when we were talking before about being on the road and the ups and downs of it, I was going to ask you about, like, just a crazy story or something that happened on the way that really was special, or anything that comes to mind.
2-3 years ago, we've been on a Brazil tour. We played New Year's Eve, I think it was in Chapecó. It was more south, Amazon Club, as far as I can remember. Then we had still 2 gigs left. We needed to play the Universo Paralelo. It's a festival in a really beautiful part of Brazil, and it's really hard to get there. So it was this gig ahead of us and Varung in Itajai, or how the city is called. So to get to the festival, we needed to take 3 flights from Chapecó, no? Then from Chapecó, I don't know where to Sao Paulo, from Sao Paulo to Salvador de Bahia. And from Salvador, taking the car 6 hours through the jungle to get to this place. Okay, we did it after the New Year's Eve, really wasted, tired, sitting in 3 different planes, then in a car for 6-7 hours to arrive the hotel. I think it was midnight, to find out there is no room for us. A festival with a few thousand people, but completely no room. So what we do? The hotel was 45 minutes from the festival, so we went to the festival. Nobody speaks English, no responsible person. It took us 2-3 hours to find someone who speaks English, who actually, we thought so, solved the problem with the hotel. So you go back, there is room, everything is perfect. Sitting in a car, driving 45 minutes back to the hotel, unpacking everything there, to then find out there is no room for us in this hotel. There is no room on our name. So what the hell was this phone about before, no? Whatever. Going back to the festival, talking onto the no, they can't do anything. What you do now? So then our driver took us to the next city, to the next hotel, motel, whatever it was. Like, you only know this from American horror movies, these hotels where there is no window. There was there was a smell in the room. You couldn't stand it, you know. The mattress, you can imagine, full of, I don't know what, it was pee, whatever. I couldn't stay in this room. So I don't know what Frank did. If he managed to sleep. I don't know how he did it, but it was 4 in the morning already. So I went out and the driver already left. So I went out and I spent my night actually in this city walking around till, I don't know, 10, 11 in the morning, till someone from the festival finally showed up to pick us up. And I found out when I told them the story, you know, this is one of the most dangerous cities in Brazil where I have been. And I was walking in the morning there. I saw some shady people, but nobody gave a shit on me. So I was walking around watching what was going on. Then they picked us up and everything turns to the opposite. They picked us up, put us in a helicopter, flew us above the festival, flew us a little bit far out to a villa located at the beach, left us there. Cook was waiting for us with a warm meal. So it was like really from completely bad to completely paradise. And we could spend 2 days in this house, extra days, before we went to Varung. And it was actually there where we wrote the remix for the Kind of Music, Guild Trip, at the beach actually. Yeah, Frank and me, we had also a completely opposite night. Frank, he was like, I want to relieve all the stress. I go full on a dance floor and have a party. And I was like, no, I go to bed, I watch Friends and I have a sleep. So in the morning, I was fresh rested. Frankie just came from the party. Frankie had some speakers with him. So we opened the computer and both in a completely different mood, different kind of night also. And was the moment where we wrote the remix for the Kind of Music guys. So yeah, this is a story actually I will always remember in my life. Always, always, always. So it was like a very, very funny story, actually. And an extreme story.
It's very extreme. And it also shows how when you don't have control over things, which also is a big part of being on the road, which I thought was great when you said you don't think about it. You just do it. Like you just let go because you don't know what's going to happen. You cannot control it.
No, you
it's
cannot.
It's just out of your hand.
You cannot.
And this just shows like how it can just change from one moment to the next.
To another, yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
And then, I mean, when I went out of the room, I was like, what the hell I'm doing? I was like, fuck. But then I said, you know what? It's like this now. So what can you do?
You said when you started out, just when you were really young, you had some older friends who took you under their wings and maybe showed you around a little bit. Did you have any mentors on the way, or people who you could ask, people who showed you things if you weren't sure about anything?
Actually not at all, because my friends I had who showed me a little bit music were not DJs or whatever. They were just party goers and ravers, but I was interested in also the music itself, and not making but DJing and playing the music, and I had no contacts at all. So I didn't know what to do. Of course, I recorded some tapes and I sent them around, but it was not enough. So what I did was, I was thinking, how do I get to the club owners? How do I get to the clubs? So I started to do promotion for the clubs. It was like the culture of flyers. Flyers and posters. So I applied to a lot of clubs and I started to work for a lot of clubs, to just driving around and sticking posters in other clubs and sharing flyers and stuff. So I started to know a lot of people, and this is how I got into some clubs to play.
And would you have any tips for upcoming young, hungry DJs or producers? Maybe also something that you wish someone would have told you way earlier.
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest. I wouldn't change a thing. And as I said before, I'm more hungry than ever, and I love it. Even though times have changed, I love it more than ever. The thing is really, really music first. Music first. If you want to do it for the fame, for the travels, for this, I don't think this is the right intention. If you want to do it for the music, if you want to do music, it doesn't matter if you have a job or not. If you can make music, make the music. If you have only a few listeners and you will never perform on a bigger stage or whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as you do the music you love, you have already won and you have already what you do. If you can release the music, even better. But because a lot of people measure the music you're doing with the success you have, which is especially nowadays not equally. So music, to have great music doesn't mean great success. But if you're interested in the music, it doesn't matter anyway. So if you do another job, then do it, but do the music you love and don't do any compromises on this. Because this if you love it, then do it. Don't be a puppet of a market or whatever. If you take it seriously with the music.
So this is the second part of my interview with Sandrino. We had to record this via Zoom, since not only were we socially distanced, but I was in Berlin and Sandrino in Tuscany, so this is how it went. I hope you enjoy.
After the last time we spoke, the world changed quite a bit. The original podcast was recorded, I think, around like mid-March.
Yes, it was mid-March, and I remember our conversation, how we tried to see or look into the future, and it completely changed. So nothing we thought it will come like it came. Like it's strange. It's strange.
Yeah. I was actually, it was the whole Corona topic was already there for us. So I remember we didn't talk about it in the interview, but before and after, because I was wondering if I should make it a theme, if we should talk about it. But then I also thought, we don't know anything yet. We know something is happening. We know, for example, I had a gig on that weekend afterwards and it was cancelled, and I didn't play at all afterwards. So we couldn't have known that.
No, I remember that. Actually, I brought a bottle of juice into your studio. You remember, because it was quite a thing. You need to take care of yourself and everything, because the initial plan of ours was to have some bellota jamon and a bottle of wine, during the interview. But then we switched to juice.
Wise decision.
Yeah. And it was funny because I also had the weekend coming up with gigs, and I actually thought we will leave, but I remember we met on Wednesday, and on Wednesday already I had some flight changes for the weekend. Then on Thursday, then on Friday, and then I started to think, okay, I might not leave for the weekend anymore, or I stood home. Then flights cancelled, the flight back cancelled, so we were really unsure even if the flight will fly to our destination, if we can return. Actually, this was the main problem, or the main fear I had. So the last gig was 7th of March. Wow.
That's
the last official gig, let's say like this. The last official gig. Yeah, because I celebrated my 40th birthday last weekend.
Yes, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. And we had a quite a nice party here in Tuscany, with a beautiful view, with selected people. Everything was allowed. It was amazing. It was the perfect party, to be honest. It was really, 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 really good. We had a nice sound. Everything was just perfect.
When did you actually decide to leave Berlin for Tuscany? Because when we met, you were just about to move back to Berlin, or you just had moved kind of back to Berlin, but I know you're always going back and forth.
We decided quite spontaneously because due to the fact that the kindergarten was closed for so long and the little one was only with us and we didn't see the family. So we decided, let's go to Tuscany for a while and then we take it from there. So without any time frame, without any plans, just coming down here. So we came by car. So we left Berlin, I think it was the 19th of June. So really at the end of May, when we realized, okay, it's possible again to travel, we decided, okay, let's give it a try. We go down, we enjoy a little bit family time and see everybody again, celebrating my birthday down here. And yeah.
Have you been creative much? Have you felt the urge to make music?
We've been very creative, not in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality. We did a remix, which I'm super happy with, for Jota Mavni, which will come out later the year. And we did some original works, also 2-3 songs. One of those songs, I believe, or in this case, Frankey and me both equally believe it's the best we ever did. So yeah, I can surely say we've been creative, and I'm very, 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 very happy about this moment in the studio, because I went just twice to Frankey, but it was enough to catch some vibes together. And like I said, in this case, I'm also very happy because we are both equally excited about it, because usually it's either me like, Frankey, we caught an amazing idea here. This is beautiful. This is great. And Frankey, are you sure? Is it really like this? Or the way around, Frankey, this groove is amazing. These sounds are great. And are you sure? But this time we're both equally excited. And also one fun fact in the last 10 years is that Frankey, when I leave the studio, after 1 hour, when I'm in my car driving home, I'm always calling him to tell him, look, I re-listened the tracks and we did a great job. Everything is cool. This time was the first time in 10 years that I left the studio, and after 1 hour, Frankey was it who called me, who said, you know what, the track we wrote today is really something special for me. And I was very happy to hear that. Yeah.
It's interesting because I spoke to a lot of musicians and creative people, and for some, they had a very prolific time because they finally were able to focus and to work and to be concentrated, and you don't have a lot of external things coming at you. You can really take your time and work on something. And then there were others who said that because they have no input, they find it hard to create because it's a feedback loop. But I can totally see what you're saying, which is a little bit for me as well. I didn't make much, but when I did, and when I sat down and actually had the inspiration to do something, it felt really good and it felt really worth it. And it was also a good time to kind of leave everything behind and to get into a mindset of creating and of positivity and happiness.
I think music, this is the problem I see sometimes. If you're touring a lot, is due to the input you get all the time, not only in the studio, but also like when you dig for music, this constant touring and routine also has an influence of how you write the music and how you select music. To be able to have all these inputs, and be completely free and select music or write music completely freely from everything out there is the best thing can happen to a musician. I felt so good in the studio, and I'm again reconnected with myself. For example, when I'm sitting here, because I'm playing for myself at home. I'm in first place. I'm a DJ, so I'm always looking for music, and I'm playing for myself here. But how I select the music, I went back to actually how I started to do this job. And when I started, it was not about the clubs. It was not about playing, not about anything. It was just about the music. And this is how I came back to this feeling. And it's actually, despite of the tragedy out there, this is a wonderful thing for me, you know, to be able to listen to music again and give every piece of music the right attention it deserves. You know, it's something beautiful.
For me, I have to say it's funny how I started now to listen to dance music, like quote unquote privately again, and not, like you said, see it as something that I do to select, to play out, but actually because I love it. And I miss, of course, also the feeling of going out and being around people, and maybe also a way of getting into that mindset again, but also just taking the time and really listening and rediscovering it. That's a good point.
I selected so much music like without a foot to the floor kick, you know. It's like a lot of breakbeats, also faster music like drum and bass, also faster techno and trancey sounds, slower things. So a lot of stuff which I really like to listen to and also to play out. And I realized that even though I consider myself very open-minded and I always look for different kind of music, at some point, due to the fact that you're always into this constant loop, you get stuck. You get stuck. Even if you don't want, you get somehow stuck. And now, with no pressure at all, nothing around you, it's beautiful. For the music, it was beautiful. And the urge of going to the studio, I didn't feel, to be honest. It was everything naturally. At some point, we thought, Frankie, look, it's 10 years we work together now. We didn't see each other for 2 months. This never happened before. I need to come to Essen. Let's have a few days in the studio. And it was actually perfect. Yeah.
When we started, I said that in the first podcast, I didn't really want to talk about the whole Corona issue because we don't know how the future will look. And here we are 4 months later, and we still don't know. But do you see an end to it? Do you see a change? I know from friends around me that some people are starting to play little things again. It's all very local, I feel.
Yeah.
You don't want to travel that much, but when you say like you had a little birthday party, how do you feel about this? Like,
I don't know. I have a twisted. I have several opinions. In the first place, I'm very surprised that nobody I talk to is talking about financial issues. Yeah, because let's be honest, we didn't work for 4 months, so I never ever in my life worked for 4 months, you know. So there are some DJs who are in a good place, so they don't need to think about it. But others, they really need to think about it. So I didn't see anyone who was complaining or talking about the financial side of things, you know. We all get into difficult times because no gigs, no parties, no income. What you do, how you survive, how you do your daily life, what we are going to do. So this made me also think that actually it's sad that, for example, people who write music and not gig too much or don't want to tour because it's not in their nature or not in their interest, but writing music, they don't earn money. We don't earn money because of writing music, even though if you write good music and it's going out with a good label or whatever, it won't never be enough to survive out of that, which is actually very sad. I come to this thought, and it's not right. It's not right. You know, this is something I was thinking a lot about. Then the other thing. Somehow I thought, okay, maybe everything will turn back to kind of, okay, music is very important, and maybe people restart to listen to music and everything. And now I see all this hype around the streaming stuff and everything, which, to be honest, I have a very, very splitted opinion. You know, some are very good in terms of visual aspects, but I have the impression that now another competition came up where everyone is trying to overtop the last stream of the other one, and a better location, a more exclusive location on the rooftop of this, and on this nature, this thing, this, and I don't know. I feel strange about it, because
maybe it shows that it's just super boring to look at DJs.
I really think that I believe that. I mean, I remember myself. I was very fascinated watching a DJ. Yeah, but when I went to the clubs in the beginning of the 90s, and you had like 2 turntables, and the DJ was doing some stuff, and I was very excited and very fascinated by that. But if you take your time and you look at the DJ, why would you do that? I don't know. I try to understand what's so interesting about it. In my perfect imagination, you know, the DJ is somewhere in the booth. The booth is semi-dark. It's only enough light to see the mixer and the CDJs and where to put your drink. And the rest is happening on the dance floor, and nobody cares about the DJ, you know, and nobody, even if it's the best night ever and the music is fantastic, then you enjoy the moment, and nobody watches the DJ filming the DJ. And yeah, why do we need to watch someone playing tunes like this? I mean, if I go to a concert and I'm watching, I don't know, Steve Vai or Roger Waters or Carlos Santana, then I watch him playing the guitar because it's something magic. But to watch a DJ playing tunes, I don't know. It's I find it a little bit strange. And also the fact that for playing music like club music, I find it very hard to just watch you. I mean, you need a feedback from the people to have some sort of energy. If not, you're just a jukebox, you know? I don't mean it in a bad way, because I also play for myself like this, but there is a certain kind of energy we create for ourselves, for myself in this very particular moment. But do I really need a camera watching me doing this? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and
I think it's just depends what you're looking for and what you appreciate about it. And I can see the appeal for people. I personally, I'm not a good judge, because I don't even really listen to a lot of DJ mixes. Because for me, like we already talked about, it's about being in the moment, being in the club, and actually dancing. But I can see that people miss going out. And
yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's one way to recreate that feeling just a little bit, and also give you something for like visually interesting to look at. But yeah,
for sure. Don't get me wrong. I try to understand. This is why I'm asking this question. Is it really necessary? Because I would like to understand. And for example, a few weeks back on a Saturday evening, I was listening to John Digweed. You know, he's doing this regular radio show, kind of, and he's also streaming, but you actually don't see him, which I find amazing. You know, and I was like, on a Saturday evening, 9 o'clock, and I was like listening to John Digweed sitting on my couch and not doing anything, not watching anything, just listening to music. And I felt like, man, feels so good, you know? And on the other side, a few days later, of course, you're looking and you see someone is doing a stream, and you're looking, and then it's not the same. It's not the same thing, you know? I'm watching something, and maybe, oh, wow, this is, the drone, wow, is flying so high, and wow, amazing picture. And then you go down, and then you see someone just staying around, waiting till the next track to mix the next track, you know? It felt strange. So I'm a more listener, and I'm enjoying more listening than watching things. Maybe it's just me like this, you know.
Do you have any gigs planned or any requests, or how is it looking for you at the moment?
Of course, we have a lot of rescheduled stuff, which is going to happen. Not very soon, but later the year, or rescheduled for next year. Then there are little requests coming in for places where actually the restrictions are a little bit more loose at this moment, and where it's possible to have, for example, outdoor events with limited people. Like the next one will be next month in August. The Island Festival on Obonjan. It's in Croatia. It's an island. It's very isolated. It's limited to 500 people with a beautiful lineup. So there are little things here and there happening. I will go to Marseille to play at the beach in the next weeks also. I will go from here by car. The road is really along the coast, so it's a beautiful ride. So I will do this, and but things are popping up slowly, and I really hope we will get back to some normality at some point. But still, there is a lot of uncertainty, and I still don't know anything yet. I don't know. I just don't know if or how this will continue. I don't know. It's very strange, no? How is it with you? How are things with you?
I think it's interesting that you said nobody really talks about how they make money. I was always working on the side. I was always having a side job because for me, there were times when I was only making music, and then there were times where I was needing a day job to just pay the bills. And right now, I'm really happy to have my job at Native Instruments. Actually, the last few months were some of the best sales-wise. Okay. It went through the roof. So I'm now back at working there full-time, but I also hope that it's going to be possible to start playing again. But we'll see.
I think if you have this nice balance, I think it's good also for creativity. If you don't feel any pressure because you need to do this or that, or to say to everything, you need to say yes to everything just because you need the money, then I think you're in a good place, Ralph. I think this is great. And I know also from myself that when I don't feel any pressure or I don't think too much at all, then the best things are happening in the studio. So music-wise. Yes. And this is actually what we want at the end, no? To be completely free and creative and write the music from the deepest of our hearts. And that's it.
Thank you for listening to Talk to the Artist. This show is powered by Paradise Distribution. You can find a playlist for this episode on Torture the Artist Spotify channel or over at www.torturetheartist.com. There, you'll also find links to our artists and more information about some of our topics. Please follow me on Instagram at eragram and subscribe to this podcast for new monthly conversations with your favorite artists.